Hello team, welcome back to another Line War cast. This is your map. We have another game out of the now public beta for team games and free-for-all in Line War. That's 2v2s, which is this game, 3v3s, 4v4s, and free-for-all modes. The two teams today on Alpha Team, El Mexican and Evil Lobster, and on Bravo Team, Infenzia and Desobnerin. Desobnerin's in the teal, Infenzia is in the orange, Mexican in blue, and Lobster in red. We can see the two spots that the different teams can choose to go. Both of Alpha Team are on the far left, Evil Lobster in the north, El Mexican on the south of this island, and Bravo Team is on the far right, Infenzia on the far right in these mountains, and Desobnerin in this little field. So we're going to have some amount of time before the two teams see each other. This would be great for like eco openers, you'd think, potentially. Desobnerin is going to get some extra money right off the bat by building a pre-built town and a dock for Bravo Team. Infenzia not putting down any production as of yet. And a town and a quick port for Evil Lobster with the two docks, and we can hear that Mexican's going for a dock in the south. Second dock from Desobnerin here, which makes a lot of sense, and two factories from Mexican, and a barracks to follow it up. In a map like this, with this water, you know, creating a natural barrier between the two teams, having naval control could become very important, and likely will. So it's great for both teams that they're starting to build docks. Alpha Team technically has a little bit more production with that extra dock. Infenzia going for a refinery here, and because Desobnerin has no gas around them, it might be the play that Desobrerin's going to build a depot, and then Infenzia is going to feed all that gas to Desobnerin to run all these boats, the two docks, and now a sub-pen for Bravo Team. You can share money and gas amongst your teammates. Money, you have to have a bordering territory, so pretty soon Lobster and Mexican are going to be able to share capital if they wish, pardon me. Lobster going for an industry here. And on the gas front, if Desobnerin builds a depot or something and connects it to this depot, Infenzia can choose to send gas to Desobnerin. That's exactly what's about to happen. Infenzia going for a second refinery, and this is another depot, so it's going to look like the play for Bravo Team is to bank a bunch of gas for the Navy, which is a smart play. Mexican's starting to go across to this bottom side of the landmass, so Desobrerin's going to get in a little bit of a fight here. There's no way that this landing's going to stop, and it's going to be a decent amount of units. Interested to see if there's any SAMs that come along with it, but as of yet, Bravo Team is not going for an airport. Infenzia's got a town on the way, so a lot of eco for Bravo Team, and more industry for Lobster. So the big question here is if Mexican can establish themselves at this point. This is a very good natural choke to protect this town and this trade route. I mean, it's going to be hard for Alpha Team to get this town and port set up because of where Desobnerin is. But even denying this from Bravo Team would be a huge deal as the game goes on. Two transport boats for Mexican making their way now, so that'll speed up how many units are getting across. The second depot for Infenzia is almost done, and it looks like gas is starting to, yes, pour into Desobrerin's depot. Going for another industry, it makes a lot of sense. Both teams know that this probably know where the other team is at this point. There's no real chance that Alpha Team's up here. So Bravo Team knows that's probably to this leftmost landmass, and you'd assume that Alpha Team, part of me, feels the same way. Here's a depot for Mexican, so looks like the play is also for Evil Lobster to send some gas to Mexican, because Mexican doesn't have a natural oil well here. First two SAMs are on the way across, and this is going to be a decent amount of units. Barracks for Infenzia to keep capping in the top right, and potentially, I guess, as a way to get across to this northern island. But otherwise, we wait for the buildup. The Navy fight is going to be a big question. Evil Lobster is starting to go over to this rightmost island. And so eco, if both teams were to develop all the eco that they have, I think that Bravo Team would actually have more potentially. It's going to depend on who can control this city and industry and how successful Mexican's going to be here, and I feel like there's a large chance for success. There's still no planes for Bravo team as of yet. A third refinery for Infenzia. This is how I like to play in team games, is just build a bunch of refineries and then feed your ally the gas, because it's going to be quite a large navy that Bravo team is going to be able to get, and Infenzia is getting the first dock. So 3 total in a sub-pen for Bravo team, and 3 docks total for Alpha team. Lobsters starting to land at the top. After capping this northernmost water territory, these boats will very likely all swing back down. If Disarmament were to know that this navy is so out of position, I wonder if they could just rush these docks. Potentially, but they might also even just get there in just in time for the 2 cruisers of red to show up. Cruisers being the best unit in like pound for pound battle against other boats. Cruisers do the best. They're definitely the anti-boat boat. That's the sentence we're using. And I wonder, it's probably going to be a mix of missile boats and cruisers from now on for red. We'll see if the submarines can come into play. This is the spot where subs would be great right now to intercept these transport boats. There's only a missile boat or 2 missile boats now for Mexican. They wouldn't be able to spot the subs, which are great at taking out those transport boats. And now Desabre knows what's up and is backing up. And Fenzia also, as an extension of Desabre and seeing it, also realizes this is going on. Potentially an airport at some point. I'm going to be surprised if both teams don't build airports. Infensi is still powering up on eco. And very importantly, Desabre is starting to go across to this northern island. Because this is a bunch of eco that if Alpha Team just gets it without any problem at all, that could be a big deal for the amount of eco both teams have. Here's an airport. Not really sure whose it is. I think this is Desabrin's. And here comes the first naval fight. A cruiser and a missile boat against what is this? 3 missile boats and 2 destroyers with 2 extra subs. Teal is definitely going to win this fight. Bravo Team is going to be able to push past here. And Lobster's backing up to buy time, but there's no airports for Alpha Team. So this will be very hard to stop. And even if there were airports, there's 3 missile boats, so they would do a very good job against planes. But as it stands right now, the second cruiser popping at this point is hugely important. The question is whether this is enough to change the course of the battle. I'm not sure if this is the number of boats needed to take on 2 cruisers. I suspect just barely. We can check the bottom. Disarmment's dug in. That would buy a little bit of time if that blue army were to decide to push north. 1 cruiser is down for red. The second one likely about to fall. The only good thing for red is that some of these boats are actually attacking the dock instead of the other boats. And now with the 3 missile boats that hasted home to get here, this is going to be a very close but probably successful defense for red. Mexican sending in 3 missile boats as well to reinforce, and the first factory for Bravo Team, which is really good for the economy situation in general. Like, a factory is not going to make you money, whereas a barracks can produce infantry to cap quicker. I think this is still held. Maybe 1 dock is going to go down because the sub and missile boat we're focusing it. Here's the first airport for Alpha Team. Lobster's building it. Lobster also has a barracks on the north, so that's huge, and Bravo Team is going to have to figure out a way to stop that expansion from happening. There's no production or anything built in the south from Mexican, just a steady stream of reinforcements, which is going to be quite the army that Bravo Team is going to have to deal with. We can hear more barracks from Mexican. I assume that's going to be on that southern landmass where they've made the landing. And at this point, it looks like Desabre just wants to try to take out a dock, and does. At the expense of all the ships, because this is now enough ships for Alpha Team that they're going to be able to see the submarine. 5 missile boats against 1 sub. The missile boats will definitely win. Missile boats aren't as good at killing submarines as destroyers are, which I don't think there's any destroyers on the map right now. Barracks in the south for Mexican, as we thought. This is going to be a huge problem for Bravo Team. The fact that Red's getting such a foothold in the north. Mohican might run these boats into 3 cruisers. That would not be great for the missile boats. And this is the beautiful thing about team games. Very cool. Mohican building a depot, 2 gases, just pumping money, and pardon me, energy to Blue's Navy at the moment. And Fancy's got the first boats. I think that they've already capped this oil on the right. I think we just can't see it in the interface. Airport for Evil Lobster, that could come in handy. I mean, it's well within striking distance of all the docks for De Sovereign. It's probably out of range potentially for Infenzia's dock, but all of these ones definitely would be within range. So if Red can build up a striker force in the north and then launch them all at once, they can either, I mean, they can wipe this navy. There's only 3 missile boats right now for Bravo team, and presumably there'd be more over time. Helicopters for Infenzio to get over to this North Island. Helicopters are great for situations a little bit like this, even though Infenzio, I think, is starting to build strikers, which are like the more reliable plane and the one that you can... They can actually... They do decent against SAMs, I think is the thing. It's never bad to have a bunch of strikers, but sometimes if you have a bunch of helicopters, they're hard to move around because they're so squishy. The one helicopter in the north here isn't going to be able to take out all this stuff, especially because there's no body blocking now for Bravo team. There's no land units here. So these infantry are likely going to kill it on the ground. Infenzia is sending some missile boats. I assume this is just a scout, or even to try to take out these transport boats. It'll be great scouting information for Bravo team to see exactly what's down here. And Mohican's just, at this point, because it's all caps, Mohican is just pouring units down to the south. Which, in some sense, makes it a little bit vulnerable if Bravo team were to start going across here, or trying to do so with all this factory production. De Sovereign's gone a city at this point that's building, so this is a lot of eco. Infenzia also has a city. I'd assume at this point both teams are pretty much tied here on the eco. Another barracks in the south. It's quite the army. I don't think that it's enough for Mohican to break through this defensive line all that cleanly at this point, especially because there's artillery in reserve for Bravo team. But over time, that massing of troops is... it's got to go somewhere. Good micro from both players to make sure that these boats, in Infenzia's case, live as long as they can, and that in Alpha Team's case, they track down these boats and don't let them get away to... I mean, if they could get away here, maybe they could run in and snipe a dock in a moment of panic. Second airport for Red. With 2 SAMs, with a third one approaching, these helicopters at this point would have to be in a swarm, so this is unfortunate for Bravo team. Infenzia's starting to try to go across. De Sovereign also gonna pick up some units. With the barracks and now 2 transport boats that are just constantly sending in units, this is gonna be a hard take, like for Bravo team to actually reclaim this. Pardon me. De Sovereign's going for a push on the artillery. In theory, this could work because the artillery doesn't really have all that much infantry in front of it. There's no meat shield for Blue to stop Teal from killing a bunch of artillery. It just depends if Blue has the numbers. Or, pardon me, if Teal has the numbers. Mohican's now starting to rush in the infantry. And it'll be in time to protect most of these artillery pieces. We're gonna get some naval action. Infenzia is rolling up a cruiser into this little bay to be able to attack their artillery. It's clear that Bravo team wants to try to break this position at this point, or at least stall the buildup of this Blue military. And yeah, there's no way that this is gonna work. This is gonna keep getting stuff, so it'll be interesting to see what the plan is for Bravo team. Potentially building up a navy and just trying to attack would be it, but Red's got a bunch of cruisers at this point. There's 4 of them. And here comes Mohican's navy to get rid of this cruiser that's kind of trying to cherry pick, because the cruiser can go really close to the coast and it will mess up the units pathing, and that the units will start to try to attack the cruiser. The cruiser would do decent. I mean, artillery is really the only unit that could kind of mess with the cruiser, shooting it from the water. And Mohican's going for it in the south. Is there anything else going on? This landing in the north for Alpha Bravo team still not working. Maybe with the 2 factories, Infensia is going to be able to muster enough of a force to do it, but I think they need air cover. It's a long defensive line, but Mohican's about to open up the left side enough that these units could even just like sprint around the back and then start attacking the artillery. So this is going to be a big win, I think, for blue over time. We know that this is about to happen. I don't think this is going to go well for Bravo team given the number of cruisers. It's 5 cruisers for Alpha, or pardon me, 6 cruisers for Alpha team against the 5 cruisers of Bravo team. The 3 strikers for Lobster are now showing up, and this is definitely going to be enough to turn this fight in their favor. Bravo team got rid of the defensive line here. They're in trouble, I think, for this push. I mean, there's going to have to be some sort of answer to this. And this push might be one of those, like, not last-ditch attempts, but it's an effort to get a win somewhere on the map. I kind of stand corrected in that Disarmament brought up a lot of cruisers. And without these planes, Bravo team was going to win this fight, and Bravo team, in fact, still might win this fight. With Mohican's boats approaching at this point, maybe Mohican's going to be able to fight them off at the very end. Blue's still making a move in the south of the map. I mean, this puts this city in a little bit of trouble for Infensia. If this city were to fall, I think there's bigger problems going on in general for Bravo team. And at this point, I would think that this is clearly going in Alpha team's favor at the moment. I feel like momentum-wise and just positioning, this is exactly what Bravo team needs to do. Is start doing these catching Alpha team's armies off guard, like sniping a town that's big. This would be a great spot to dig in. I'm not sure if Infensia is going to be able to. If 4 of these SAMs die to this invading army, that would be a great help to all the planes that are being generated for Bravo team. It's tough because Lobster is starting to build up such an amount of air force that getting close to the coast is very dangerous for Bravo team's boats. Bravo team snipes this town, delaying potentially the inevitable on this trader getting up, but this is 4 hasted boats that are all bringing over artillery. If there's some missile boat support, that would be ideal for Bravo team. Unfortunately, there's no SAMs with this as of yet. We can see that Lobster is out of gas, so the 2... yeah, because it's still just 2 refineries moving all of these units for Alpha team. So at some point there's going to have to be a 3rd refinery. I assume that the gas situation for Bravo team is way better. There's a full flower of SAMs here, but well, actually, there's flower of SAMs on the northern side of this army, and as well as the southern side. So this is going to be... I don't even think this is defensible, given how many units there are. 3 factories and 2 barracks are doing a lot of the production for Bravo team. Infensia is now starting to send some of the 5 barracks to this front, so this is probably going to be enough to sway the battle back in Bravo team's favor. There's only 1 factory for Mohican in the south, which I think is the only problem. Here comes this dig-in to secure a landing zone and pretty much just stop this town from going up for Lobster. I don't know how this is going. That's an interesting play. I think it's good. I mean, Bravo team definitely has to do something to try to get back in the game. And slowly, I think that Bravo team is going to hold in the south. They have defender's advantage, so the buildings and the production is closer to the front line, so the units get to fight immediately. The only question is whether this artillery takes out this factory in time. Bravo team's units are kind of just going in one at a time. There's no big coordinated push, but it just might be enough with the production. cruiser help on these artillery dug in at the coast. This is a great play. This just shows the coordination of Bravo team here. The only thing unfortunately missing is probably missile boats. And fortunately for Bravo team, Lobster's having trouble running continuous sorties on the planes because of the energy problem. But you can see how much more depth you can get in a match by having two players that coordinate. So here comes, like, the numbers are stabilizing a little bit for Bravo team. They're going to lose this factory. This infantry is going to kill it before these artillery are able to clear them. And now the artillery advantage is for Bravo team at this point. Mohican's opening up his second front. This is a great play. This really puts Bravo team in a tough position. And where's this third refinery? So the third refinery is up. So these two airports from Lobster are going to be able to actually fly relatively often. I wonder if Alpha team is going to go for a push as these planes hit. So now it's time for a counter push from Bravo team. I suppose if Bravo team can push to the south, take all this land back, and stabilize the naval situation, maybe they could win. It's still very difficult, I think, given this northern island, because there's going to be a point where Alpha team probably can just start building a rocket and then launching it over and over again at the production, or at Navy for Alpha team, for example. Look at these lines, folks. This is line war. This is what coordination looks like, peak coordination of teams. And it's an all-unit attack move in the south, and I think that's the right play for Bravo team. They definitely have the unit numbers. Lobster's still out of gas. I wonder if there's going to be power plants that are set up relatively soon. There's solar panels, and here's one. Really, the limiting factor in this game, I think, is the gas situation for Alpha team. Two more docks for Bravo team. I like that play. And there's still no city for Lobster. Lobster could build a city. I'm not really sure what the money's like. Obviously, there's a ton going on in this game. This is really tough. When these boats are out of gas, when you see that black plume of smoke, those units will take extra damage for the next 5 seconds. So this smaller navy for Teal could actually potentially destroy all these planes, or all these boats for Red. I get so confused with the colors sometimes. 3 strikers for Defensia are... I mean, they're kind of in the back here, unfortunately. They're not attacking the boats in the front. I think it's because they're going to the missile boats instead of the cruisers as the preferred targeting. But there's a chance that Bravo team just takes that fight. It might just be the numbers for Red and Blue. But that's a huge question in this game. The southern fight, because there's only... Well, there's now a second factory and a third one on the way for Mohican. For a while there's only one factory, so if the factory count for Blue goes up in the south, that could also potentially be a big stuff. Our Bravo team is backing up with what little boats there are left. If all of this Alpha Team Navy could sweep down and destroy these 4 docks, I think that would be GG. But we'll see. This is great defense from Bravo team to take this second push. Like, the flank is huge. I like that play from Mohican. Infantry jumping on the artillery. Unfortunately, that's just so many artillery. And they're already pre-deployed, so there's no moment where the infantry are running forward and the artillery is still, like, rolling along and then getting ready to attack. Red's still out of gas. Interesting situation that we got going on here. Okay, let's look at, like, Bravo team has all the economy that they can develop at this point. Alpha team has a little bit more economy that could be developed. This is a huge question. I don't even know nickname should, or pardon me, Mohican should be doing in this situation, potentially just like digging in. But that being said, I don't know, there's a lot going on in the game. This is just the reason this game is a nail-biter, I think, is this Navy running out of gas. Because you can just see with overwhelming numbers, it would just be naval supremacy for Alpha Team. If these planes and boats could move. I wonder who's the first one to build a rocket. I think Bravo Team wouldn't be able to launch, like, land on this northern island without a rocket. 3 helicopters and 1 striker. And 2 cruisers against the Navy here. I think that's going to be a cleanup for Alpha Team. The helicopters will do a lot. There's no missile boats here for Alpha Team. So the way that the helicopters can just hover over their target, they get insane DPS as they do so. Like, they took out a cruiser. It's just a big enough Navy from Alpha Team that it doesn't fully matter. Planes would be enormous for Alpha Team down here because this is all just artillery pieces, but there still is enough, and there will be. This is the power of 3 factories against all of these factories for Bravo Team. So obviously Bravo Team has the numbers there. Here come the strikers. They're going to be able to at least kill 1 dock. Maybe if they start attacking the SAMs, the docks will live, but I think at this point, most of these docks are going to go down. It's just so much cover fire from the strikers. Infancy is digging in the artillery on the coast. This is great for defending the docks because artillery does pretty decent against missile boats and destroyers. It's just the cruisers that can give them a problem. So they're great at delaying the Navy from killing your docks, and also the attacking Navy will, in general, prefer to attack the artillery as opposed to the building, which can sometimes mess with people. This is definitely going to go for a Bravo Team. Slowly. Maybe with all this new artillery showing up? If Mohican can get across in time, maybe. But I think there still needs to be a defense line, potentially, in the south. So Evil Lobster is going to start going ahead in the north, and this is a great play to open up this second front. As long as these units don't just get destroyed by helicopters and strikers. Because for Alpha Team, there's still no missile boats here. It's mostly cruisers, and cruisers are coming to reinforce. Well, this is tough as Mohican's gonna find a lot of trouble in defending this position without any air cover. If there was a way to get some of these strikers down to the south, that would be, I think, super clutch for Alpha Team. That being said, they're doing so much damage in the north. Hard to tell. But what could happen is the range of these airports might be such that an airstrip built here by either player that is enabled to allow your ally to share that airstrip could end up having all the strikers reach here. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I think Bravo Team might just barely be able to deal with that. This is a huge battle to keep these docks alive. I'm surprised they still are alive. But DeSubner's done a great job to get some cruisers back. And at this point, the Navy's standing in front of all these docks. I mean, Bravo Team's Navy is better. Great play from Mohican to go around the back with the subs that will be able to target the dock without being seen by the artillery. This second front is huge. At some point, some of these units are going to have to be diverted to defend this part of the map as opposed to sent to the south. So I think what's left here is probably all that Bravo Team's going to end up being able to send. Which is important. That's the power of opening up this northern front. Submarine getting chased by Transport boat, okay. I guess the buildings could also add to the detection range. Still not a lot of SAMs here for Bravo team. These missile boats could come in huge, and I believe these are the patched missile boats. Missile boats and SAMs will target the most damaged plane within its range. And I think there's other added things. Either way, missile boats and SAMs are getting buffed. My apologies for not knowing the specifics. Very close fight. This turned into a close fight. Without anything else being reinforced, I think that has to be the thing that turns it in Bravo team's favor. So I can't see what's being built from Infenzia, or what the money situation is for all 4 players. But there certainly seems to be a lot of gas for Bravo team, which is huge. So if Bravo team can get the bigger navy and do a push, they can also do things like stop this from happening. Right now, with all the air support, like, it's hard to stop this drop from happening, which currently doesn't even have any transport boats, unfortunately. I think ultimately there's an added aspect, which when the game goes this long and is this hectic, there is like a fatigue aspect. It's part of the reason why Line War is pretty cool. Right, so having both players be on the same page and figuring out, okay, like, right, what do we need to do to close this out? And I think that conversation is probably happening on both sides. An aggressive dock or a factory for Disabner makes a lot of sense. There's still a lot of land in the bottom left that we've kind of just been taking for granted. And pretty soon, when this changes ownership, I think that Bravo team's going to be ahead. Okay, so, alright. So everything I just said about the game doesn't matter anymore. Infenzia actually has a sizable number of units. 5 SAMs. It must have been the sneakiest. Yeah, so Infenzia went... we love it. This is Line War. Transport ship took these units that go around the northern part of the map, that is technically all water, and then went... Okay, so it was also like 20 transport ships, so this was why there's so many units here. They're gonna get cleaned up, but I think that's actually fine for Infenzia. Like, almost expected, because then the transport boats go along the back. What a play. If Infenzia starts building production here, that could actually be a problem, because on the mainland for Alpha Team, there's only 3 factories and 3 barracks. I guess there's actually 2 factories in the north. The standing army of Evil Lobster on this landmass is quite large. I wonder if the plan is a proxy base or even just taking out that energy. Either way, great clutch play from Infenzia and Bravo Team. This is definitely going Bravo Team's way on the south. Although this is a decent army, I think between the defensive lines and the defender's advantage of having all these units close, this is going to get stuffed as well. Because these are going to be pretty much the only units for Alpha Team that are able to make it onto this landmass. Or rather, like, pretty soon this Navy's going to roll in and stop this, I'm pretty sure. Okay, we don't need to look at this at all. The question is whether Alpha Team's going to build production in this mountain to try to launch a comeback, or like a counterattack, or whether it's just going to be, again, reinforced from here. There's another factory, so I think that's the answer. This is a tough mission now for the infantry. They're going to get 1 power plant. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get a second one, but they are going to probably just try to target it. The great thing for Bravo Team also is that these strikers have to go home to defend now. They can't be used to attack the docks. What a game. 2 rockets for Lobster in the north, which will be very important. Yeah, here's the question, whether this infantry, these 2 infantry can get 1 more, and holy cow, they do. With only 2 infantry alive afterwards. I think that's generally worth it. Some of these territories are still Infenzia's. So Lobster has to make sure to remember to cap these things, or Infenzia could end up building a sneaky proxy base. I'm not even sure if that's part of the plan. We can still see that Red's out of gas, sending all those strikers there. And that's a lot of artillery. Defending at home is now a big question. So it's going to be 5 or whatever this is, like about like 12 artillery pieces. But there's some helicopters I think that Infenzia has, so even 2 helicopters sent over here, which I think is the play. We'll be able to take that out over time. Okay, well the landing force for Infenzia is cleaned up. I think the game now becomes whether Lobster can use this rocket well, but even then, this navy for Bravo that's about to be built is very, very scary. And it's enough missile boats that I think if they parked in the middle of this trajectory of the rocket, that the missile boats would be able to snipe that rocket before it lands. We can use the best feature of the beta, which is the enhanced zoom. And this is the power of helicopters just hovering over artillery. Rocket's almost done. I assume as long as Red has the energy, that rocket's going to be launched as soon as it's built, so I better not go away from that too far on the screen, because you know we will miss it, and we often do on this series. And Infenzia is now starting to be able to take the north. That will be the game changer. I mean, I suppose a rocket could be used defensively. I'm interested to see where this rocket goes. I mean, it could be used to hit the Navy, but unfortunately Alpha Team doesn't really have a Navy. And here's the last hurrah. Don't know where it's going, but if it... Oh, this might be so unlucky for Lobster. That's going to go over all these missile boats. Or unlucky for the missile boats. No missile boats, so that would be sweet, because all these strikers could, in theory, kill these cruisers, but I don't know if there's enough gas. And losing the south is such a huge deal, because this is going to be hard to retake for Alpha Team. As soon as these cruisers kill this refiner, I think that the planes stop. It's just a question of... I mean, because all these... If these planes can't fly, these cruisers get to kill the town, the port, all the docks. And that might be what's happening. Losing those... Wow, was it even 3 power plants that Infenzia sniped? Maybe that might be the difference here. In fact, to this. Well played. Both teams. Very good game. One of the best. Folks, that was the beta of Team Games. It's a public beta now. You can check out the Discord if you'd like to learn more, if you'd like to see if you can get a chance to play it. And thanks for watching. I hope you have a great night, evening, day, whatever it is. I've been told to click around these more. So here you go. You got the fully detailed stats. All the energy. I mean, we can see that Alpha Team was starving on energy most of the game. Very cool. Later, folks. Peace.